that have come. Do we have the capacity to ride with this initiative?
Thank you so very much. Let me start by saying that there is local capacity in the country. The bane of the problem in this sector is the fact that deliberately, let me put it that way, we chose not to reckon with the manufacturers in the sector. And if you look at the country very well, and if you look around the world, there is no way you can develop without reckoning with your local manufacturers. Let me go be a little bit, let me say that contrary to what the chairman just said now, manufacturers have always been in this sector. And this is the first time in the history of this country, in the history of the power sector, that manufacturers are being reckoned with. And why all this problem that we have in this sector today is born out of the fact that we refuse to want to develop the sector. Other developed countries that you are seeing, even the Chinese economy that you see today, they started from somewhere. And MOMAS, where I am representing here as the Chief of Staff, has been in this country for over 25 years. And I want to, first of all, commend Mr. President for this initiative. But I would say that this initiative is just a temporary one. When there are key issues that we need to address, even with the deployment of this 1 million meter that we're talking about, we should also be talking about the manpower. That is there, do we have sufficient manpower to deploy this number of meters? I would say no. And given the fact that we are a committed corporate entity that has been contributing immensely to the development of the sector and to the development of our economy and our nation at large, we decided, okay, let us see what we can do on our own as part of our corporate social responsibility, because even the regulatory agency should be concerned about the manpower that that will deploy this, that will install these meters. Let me put it that way. And on our own, we decided to select candidates across all the geopolitical zones in the country. They are right there in our premises that I'm talking to you, over 300 youths to be trained on meter installation to complement this initiative by the federal government. And it's in a way, it is to create employment opportunities for our youth. And this is what we've been talking about before now, that when you look inward, there is more to gain. When you decide to develop your own, to accept your own, there is more to gain. Now, as we're talking now, we are just doing this as an eye-opener, so that all the states, because we routed these candidates through the state government, so that all the government at all levels can see the potentials in this sector. As I'm talking to you now, in our factory, we have over 200 workers. Because of this intervention by the federal government, we have doubled the shift. It is now over 400. And that is how it will be increasing. Now, there are underlying issues that are to be addressed in the sector. This 1 million initiative is just for the meantime. Metering need, like I used to say, like I normally say, it is like every other need. It is a continuous need. Population is growing. It is not something like when the NERC came up with this idea of wanting to bridge the metering gap by bringing it, they identified that we have metering gap of 5 million meters and all, what have you. We were at the forefront conversing that there is local capability in the country, that you don't need to inject such a huge amount in Chinese economy. And this initiative that you're seeing today didn't just come up. It is born out of a genuine struggle over the past years. Genuine struggle to ensure that we are not killed. Most of the companies that we grew up to know when we were young, it is policy that killed them. And we will keep saying it. There are still challenges in the country, in the manufacturing sector of the Nigeria, in the power sector. And thankfully, the Federal Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment, when they saw what I'm talking about MOMAS, what we have on ground, decided to come up with an industrial policy, which has never been in the sector. Because industrial policy connotes identifying the strength of the players in the sector and support them accordingly. And as I'm talking to you, we are the only original equipment manufacturer in the sector. Part of this industrial policy is to ensure that some of all the raw materials that are not readily available in the country that are being sourced from abroad are made to attract 0% import levy, so that this will encourage us to expand our production capacity. These are the things the regulatory agency should be doing to support the sector. And in a way, by the time all this is in place, we will not have reason to be importing some of these components, because by way of expansion, we will have decided to now say, okay, we want to start also, because we make some of the meter enclosures in the country. We will now decide, okay, we want to start making relay and shunt and what have you. And this will have multiplier effect, not only on our sector, but other sectors of our economy. That is the way to grow. There are issues that are to be addressed. Thank you so very much.
Okay, Mr. Abiodun, earlier on you talked about the fact that local manufacturers of, smart meters are not, given due priority. But we know that even under MAP, the policy stipulates that 30% of what is of meters are sourced from you, and you were not able to fill the gap. Even under, is it a credit advance, whatever, you were supposed to, provide the quantity required, but local manufacturers were not able to meet the gap. So how is it now that you are saying you have not been patronized? And can you give us more insight how?
Maybe I should help you.
Very much, Clara. This meter asset provider scheme that you just mentioned now, the 30% provision of the regulation, there is nothing compelling. This bulk of these MAP members are importers. Permit me to say, there is nothing compelling them to buy from the local manufacturers. Our office is open. You can come. We are open to the media. You can come around and see. Let any one of them come out to challenge us that they sign an agreement with us and we refuse to supply them. Let us be factual here, please. There is no time, any of the meter asset provider approach us that they need meter. You see the way things are. Let me break it down for you. Before you can buy meter or anything from any part of the world, the manufacturer does not know you, so you will start by advancing payment. The same thing applies to meter importation. Maybe you advance payment like 50%. They start production, and after like 3 months, you pay the balance after the production has been completed. Then they ship. That is the way it is done. But in Nigeria here, we want a fire brigade approach. You approach a manufacturer. Do you know how much the cost of having like let's say 10,000 meters in your warehouse? You know how much it is? Because officially the price of a single phase missile is about 44,000 naira, and the 3 phase is about 82,000 naira. If you multiply it, you see how much it is, and you access loan from the bank, and you don't have off-takers. We at MOMAS, we've been riding on private and institutions to survive over the past 25 years.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Hamid Abiodun. It's a pleasure, this insights you've given. But you've raised a lot of issues and concerns here, which I think the professor need to really react to them. There are so many issues he mentioned, which I think have to do with your commission.
I think he probably took a wrong direction in trying to attack the commission. The commission, on the other hand, is the one you should be congratulating and applauding for what we have done to make a difference. What do I mean making a difference? We sign on local content. We push local content to encourage, to promote, and to ensure that made in Nigeria for Nigeria is the new thing. Signed by that order by Mr. President, we drove it, we push it, and we ensure that 23 number of manufacturers of meters in this country buy into it, including MoMAS. MoMAS, we visited you. We applauded your effort. But I don't understand why you will use the media to say that the regulator has not done enough for you. We have done very much to promote you and to promote all other manufacturers. In fact, phase 1 and phase 2 is meant for the local manufacturer under Mr. President initiative, that you all will provide that meter going forward and beyond the next, the 6 million. So hurry up, make sure you have all what it takes to design, develop, implement, demonstrate, and deploy meters. Don't forget, at the end of the day, even when it is locally made, you need to work very hard to make sure your transistors, your chips are made in Nigeria.
But he says he says there is no deliberate enforcement. You know, yes,
there is enforcement
for off-takers.
No, there is enforcement. There is enforcement, because there is enforcement. It is part of the thing that part of the agreement signed by before we give even a map. What is the percentage? What constitutes your 30% local content? You got to define it. Is it the installer? Is it the chip you are going to make? Is it the soldering work that you were doing there that is 30%? We came there. I personally applauded them that we see Nigerian young men and women learning how to do electronic chip design for the first time. I teach in a university. When I saw young people putting what they've learned in school to work, I said, this is the time.
So this initiative, they're going to bear this initiative.
They have to.
It's on their shoulders.
And not only that, don't do it alone in that shop. You need to work with universities, because you need to now invest in how to make new materials. When we talk about smart meter, it's not just based on smart meter IoT of things. There are material contents, silicon, germanium. We have to look at new type of materials. These are serious business. Serious business. Serious business that require collaboration, that require you as manufacturer to coordinate, to begin to invest in research, because the materials that you even ship, that you need to do that work, cannot be made in Nigeria completely 100%. And I'm saying, no, I need to finalize it for him. Please acknowledge what NEC has done in the last few years. What have we done? We push the manufacturers to participate. We push the MAP to buy from you, and they did. Wherever they could not, we left it open at that time, they could go abroad. But now we are saying that beyond phase 0, we are still allowing MAP to provide meters, whether they've got that meter from abroad. But in phase 1, to provide job for our young people graduating from schools. They will become installers, they will be testers, they will even be designers. I have universities right here in Nigeria who are designing new meters that are going to be smart, that are going to be based on Internet of Things. They're going to use new communication schemes. They're going to be controlled. They're going to have storage. They have photographs. They will have data, just like a new laptop, a mobile phone you have. Wake up. I think it's time. You have a commission that supports innovation. This is me.
Professor James Momo, let's really narrow down this discussion to the presidential metering, mass metering initiative. 23 manufacturers locally in Nigeria.
Yes.
23 of them.
We need more.
I know you should need more because Nigeria is a very
big
large
country.
country.
200 million plus.
200 million plus.
Yes.
And over the years, to date, we are still yet to really have substantial number of meters that would go around, at least in the first phase. So let's get down to the zero phase, all right? Now, does it mean the 23 don't have the support, or their capacity is less, or they don't have the funds? What has been the problem?
Well, the 23 will provide the gap that I mentioned earlier. I said for the 1 million that we have money for, let me just translate it into money. Power is money. Power is not talking. Power in, money out. Money in, power out. That's my theory of power engineering. We want to provide 1 million meters. Somebody has to pay for it. But we have a contract, legal contract with some MAPs. They already have meters to be provided to customers, stuck in some places. They may take us to court. So we say, bring that meter up, those MAPs, push it out. If it is 40% of such meter that is available, put it 40% of meter is right here. The 60% missing, let's go to the local manufacturers. What can you do more? We just woke up. Where were they all this time? We woke up to solve problem.
Professor Momo.
So now we are 100% meter equivalent to 1 million to be rolled out between now and December ending. We are running after the meter, the discos. They must provide these meters they have identified with, and the discos and the manufacturer whom he represents must provide this device right away. But they should not stop.
Let's put you on hold. Let's go for a short break. Sorry about that. I can understand your passion. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. I told you that this is going to be a very interesting discussion because it's a topic that affects almost everyone. Everybody is a consumer of electricity. So let's go on this short break. When we come back, we'll now look at the cost burden on you and me.
The counsel of our fathers.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
My name is Nando Jamda.
Muhammad.
Stevita.
Hussein Musa. Roduna Joel Finji. Said Musa. John.
I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for more than 8 years now.
Ina sai da plantain na kai kimamin shekara 3.
I've been selling my tomatoes for about 10 years now, and I do it for a better Nigeria.
And I do it for a better Nigeria.
Ina wannan sana'ar lemu ne domin Nigeria ta ci gaba. Ina sa domin Nigeria ta kyau. And you can see how we are doing our small little work to make Nigeria great.
As you can see, I'm a technician and I'm doing it to help myself and to help my generation.
Ina zaune ne a Plateau na business. Kuma ina yin wannan domin ci gaban ƙasar Najeriya.
For a better Nigeria. This message is from the National Orientation Agency. Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. So let me bring in Professor James Momo again before we go to Benin. Prof, earlier on I asked if there were hidden charges because the head of corporate communications, BEDC, had given us something like an insight that, you know, in the long run, enumerated customers may bear the cost for, you know, whatever is being done under this initiative. Are there hidden charges?
Well, what I think the chief communicator from Benin Disco actually meant with respect to these hidden charges, as far as Mr. President is concerned, the money that is being given to the cost to this initiative is not to be 100% paid for by customers. To me, it's a loan to Disco. They must pay back eventually. So it's not a gift because they are in a business.
A kind of bailout?
Yes, I don't know the word bailout. It may mean too many things. Let me say it this way. We give you this support to solve the problem that is very important to our economy: power, delivery, marketing, selling. Meter is a central processor for getting this done. If that is true, please roll out these 6 million meters. Do not frustrate customers. Do not confront them. Unless you pay me, I won't give you cost. I won't give you meter. I think that's the sentiment I'm taking away.
Perfect.
We must give you this meter, and you will make sure you will pay for electricity now. In fact, to the extent that you'll be so happy, you'll be using more power, more electricity, more energy. But along the way, I'm very sure that the charges that a customer will receive at the end of the day in terms of invoice of electricity usage may include a tiny bit of $0.00001 or naira that may be captured either because of, you may call it service charge or whatever it's called, right? Which every one of us will not mind paying. Maybe that's what he's saying. But I don't think he's going to wake up in 2021 and start saying, customer, you are now going to pay 40,000 naira for your meter. No, it's not going to happen. It's not in the agreement that we are signing with them so far.
But there are always service charges everywhere you go.
Anywhere you go.
Anytime, any day.
So that would be the only charge that they might program, if you call that hidden charge. They can program it in my invoice. I'm a customer too, don't forget. So if I receive my bill and I see a tiny 3 naira per month extra, I don't mind paying. Because I know Mr. President has paid the balance, the difference. That may go on till 2022. When the customer number increases and there's no more support from the government, I'm sure customers are now used to meters, and meters will be cheaper because it will be locally made. Our students will be all over the place. You remember the time you used to buy cheap for the telephone? It used to be like thousands of naira.
Yeah.
Now you can go to the telephone, you want to buy a cheap, it's 200 naira. Do you imagine? 200 naira now. So I'm assuming, and I know it will happen. In technology, will get cheap. In technology, as we advance it, it becomes cheaper. And as you mass produce it, it becomes cheaper. So please don't scare the customer so far to think that there's a hidden agenda that Mr. President is putting meter out there. In 2021, you're going to start paying. 2022, you're going to start paying. Remove it from your mind, customers. Let's get there and we'll work with you. We are going to make sure this sector works economically.
Thank you very much, Professor. Adekunle Tayo, let's talk about these things the professor just said. For the customers, and then allaying the face of the customers that there is going to be no more charges or no hidden charges as such. But there may be some 0.0001, as you said, additional service charge or whatever, that the customer will take, as he made example with himself. And of course, I too will go in for that. But I have at the back of my mind that the president has paid for everything. But nonetheless, I should be at that very little charge. Have your customers been really sensitized on this? A question you didn't answer much earlier is the one about, customers who might have paid or give deposit towards having or acquiring a new meter. And here comes the presidential initiative that's saying that it's going to be free. How would you want to address that?
I like to align myself with what the chairman of NEC, our regulator, has said. I agree with Ibi Toto. It's a win-win situation for all the stakeholders in this mass metering initiative. It's going to help us as a DISCO, distributor electricity, to ensure that we do better energy accounting, it's also going to help the customer to ensure that he only pays for what he or she consumes, and even the regulator to do proper monitoring of the industry. Local manufacturers too, they also have a piece of the cake in terms of developing their capacity and deployment ability for local meter manufacturing and all that. And just as the chairman has said, they've been given a portion of the requisite quantity to be produced. Now, what is very clear in this whole arrangement is that for the customer, there will not be any upfront payment. There won't be any hidden charges. And again, because the discos are getting the meters through a bank loan that will be given to banks, that will be given to the MEP partners that will bring in these meters, is at a cost. And such a cost will be spread for a long time period. And like the chairman said, it may be just a small token that will eventually come back to the customer. It might even be in terms of energy consumed, that you just see a little service charge to actually defray that cost on a long term and not immediate term. However, what is very, very clear is that the modality for the cost recovery in this mass metering initiative and any other modality, any other cost will be communicated to the beneficiaries. They will be clearly stated to them. They will know what they are entering into. Now, don't forget that we have the meter asset provider scheme already on ground. And like I said, we have the option of optional payment of installment payment embedded in that scheme, in addition to people that pay upfront. Now, there are three phases in this mass metering initiative. We have the zero phase, which is targeted at 1 million deployment. For customers that have been duly captured, duly registered, their premises have been covered, definitely, if there are some of them that are on the optional long-term basis, we try and migrate some of them into this mass metering initiative. For those that are supposed to pay as you go, if the meters are ready based on the one the map is supplying, they will get their own. If some of them are also ready, they are also captured under the enumeration, they can also be migrated within, because the idea is that the meter is supposed to be a major tool to measure electricity supply, and people are tired of estimated billing. Fine, let meters be available and let the industry work. However, because it's a loan and it's at a cost to the people that are involved, then there must be a way to recover this cost in a very gradual and on a long-term basis. And that's what the chairman is saying. Everything is being regulated. We are all players and we stick to the rules. Everything will be communicated to the customer. So, but the bottom line is that it makes things easy and the industry works. Thank you.
Mr. Adekunle Tayo, thank you. I'll still remain with you. You will agree that since the sector was privatized, there have been initiatives, by the regulator and of course government to enable you, the discos, carry out what ordinarily within the policy that you keyed into. Your key performance indicators meant that you should provide meters for at least more than 1 million customers, but you haven't been able to do that. So why should enumerated customers trust you in this? And I also like you to tell us how, because you've also complained about the multi-year tariff order, that is the MYTO, and the impact on your metering capacity. How does this initiative help you resolve those issues?
Thank you very much. Just as the chairman said, enumeration is key for a customer to be metered. Because during the enumeration process, you're able to capture the data of the customer. You're able to see, you are able to assess the load, that is in terms of consumption capacity of the customer. You're able to code the customer, you're able to put the customer in your network and duly registered, duly serviced properly. When all this one is done, then you can give good and efficient services to the customer. But during the process of enumeration, what we have discovered is that a lot of the customers are not available. Some of them are not at home. Some of them, you don't even have access to them. And if this enumeration is not done, there's no way you can provide efficient service, even including metering, to all of them. Now, this presidential mass metering initiative will help in actually bridging the metering rate, in the sense that DISCOs have been trying to ensure that all the customers are metered, but there are a lot of things happening in the environment. For instance, the customer population keeps growing, even through enumeration. When we started at BEDC about 7 years ago, the customer population was less than 1 million, maybe about 600,000 or thereabout. But through enumeration, new customer capture, new connections, the customer base was able to grow to over 1 million. And it keeps growing on a daily basis as new connections are done and some other customers are captured into the grid via enumeration. Now, this presidential mass initiative will assist in supporting the metering program that is already put in place by the regulator. Like the chairman rightly said, we have about 10 million gaps to be filled. But with this presidential initiative, 6 million out of that 10 million gaps is to be met. And that's why it's spread out across, a phase-by-phase implementation basis. You are also aware that we have to also give room for local content, and that's why the local manufacturers have been factored into it. The CBN is providing this financial support, not direct to DISCO, but they are using banks that will guarantee the loan. And they are using the meter asset provider who is going to bring in the meters to be given to the customers. And each of the DISCOs have been allotted some quantity in terms of target to be met under the first phase, are rarely initiated by the chairman. Ours at BEDC is 90,870 meters, which has been allocated to us for rollout. And this one will start soon as some of the modalities and the formalities are met. The paper signed, the customer, is duly captured, and some of the other things, arrangement involved, are fully met. These things will roll out and will be met. So, in a way, the presidential mass initiative is assisting in trying to ensure that the power sector works, and some of the major complaint of estimated billing is eradicated. It is not a one-cap piece all. The existing meter arrangement being run by each of the DISCOs will still continue. We have some other types of metering that we are doing.
All right, Mr. Dekunle Tayo, we'll return back to you in a moment. We have a number of tweets that have come in. Yusuf, I think we could quickly take them, then
let's go
continue with our conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Let's begin with Dele Jack Solomon. And I really want to appreciate you, Dele, and the rest of you who always send in your tweets. Thank you very much. So Dele Jack Solomon tweets, to achieve the target of ending estimated billing, government should be prepared to tackle saboteurs head-on, especially as spoilers in the sector would not hesitate throwing a spanner in the works with the usual administrative bottlenecks. We must be resolute to checkmate this.
And Innocent Yawal James says, this is just an initiative. And will those concerned do justice and be patriotic enough to obey the presidential initiative without flooding rather complaints? And the metering is a huge step towards bringing sanity to the electricity problem, crippling the nation's development.
Chris Simeon, power sector has suffered bottlenecks for more than a decade now. For presidential mass metering initiative to meet its target, federal government, DISCOs, GENCOs, and stakeholders have to come together for roundtable discussion and draw guidelines and modality that will reposition the sector.
Steve Bond, that is 007, says it's a good initiative if it's followed to the letter, and that's what you're trying to do here.
And Titus Monday Knox, there is another one, Steve Bond, 007. Stephen says it's a good initiative if it's followed to the latter. Okay, you read that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, Titus Monday, I hope and pray that some individuals wouldn't hold the meters to later sell them to the highest bidder. Stiffer monitoring should be in place to avert moves by some greedy people to profit from this laudable project. I wish to thank government for this palliative at this critical moment.
Ajani Olatunde Olaolua says it's going to be a noble project if done equitably and transparently.
And Ugwai Christiana Ibuka, it's a noble idea from the presidency, but the problem will be executing and implementing so that the average man can benefit without cutting corners. The woes and tales of estimated billing abound, And if this mass metering succeeds, I see us solving 40% of our electricity problem.
Comrade Ngala says mass metering initiative is a good development. It will reduce the cost of electricity bill. Is that so?
And Yunusa Idre says this is a very good move. The Kaduna discos inaugurated and flagged off the phase 1 distribution in Kaduna. He witnessed it, but said there's scarcity of the meters compared to customers on ground.
Leo Fadaka is saying that this presidential initiative will put an end to the sharp practices of power sector officials, as in the telecommunications sector, Nigerians don't default in pay-as-you-go for the phone bills. Finally, paying for darkness will be a thing of the past.
Okay, we have also a number of tweets. Jibril Salisu Naina, Ibrahim Abdusalam, Bello, Olanrewaju Saeed. All of you have commended this initiative. And of course, Fonohomi, you also thank the president for this initiative. Temilolu also, you said, why not develop a meter box that will house about 8 meters and mount on the electricity pole and service the house with a cable from the meters to their house to prevent bypassing of meters? Thank you, all of you, for your tweets. We always appreciate you. Yes, just before we go to Lagos, Prof, issues have been raised, hoarding of meters. You heard somebody from Kaduna already saying, look, they have more customers than there are meters. You are the regulator. How are we going to ensure that doesn't happen?
And even at that, when you look at the history of this kind of free things in Nigeria, check also the rollback malaria issue of the federal government, that very program, where you find mosquito nets, that are supposed to be free in the market being sold. And even the most recent one, talking about the answers, the palliatives, and the rest of them, you find them in the markets and things like that. When things become free in this country, you find people, engaging in shortages about them. How would you want to address it?
First, I want to acknowledge a lot of positive comments from the tweets, especially in respect and acknowledging the Mr. President. A bold decision, a very wise decision for a good leader who had made it possible for this country to turn it around in the energy sector. Unless this is done, we've been saying it, somebody has to do this, and he has done it. He deserves a round of applause. He deserves a lot of applause. Mr. President, I throw my salute.
So
and I'm saying,
challenge is
the challenge,
gaps,
the
yes.
challenge now that you've noted, as a regulator, we must make sure we do what we do very well, which is to make sure we provide appropriate monitoring, and we are going to provide opportunity for customers to self-report to us that either A, what has been promised is not given, and we will go after the DISCO to ensure, and I'm sure the DISCO are ready to cooperate. If not, we will take action.
How do you intend to do
the action is that they have disobeyed Mr. President initiative. If Mr. President, the commander-in-chief, says do this and you don't, then you don't respect your president. Then you are not a good citizen of this country.
Nigerians
so what I'm saying is
Nigerians who really want to see, now, especially when you talk about the public response
to
your own initiative or to the presidential initiative, Nigerians who want to hear some concrete, step to be taken by you. Like, say, for instance, you can have a toll-free number, look that the police do. And
I was just going to tell you that.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be, there's always neighborhood watch. There's always community watch, right? There's always, somebody is always going to be trying to game the system. But there must be a reporting system. I don't know what's going on right now in Lagos or in Kaduna from here. But there must be a reporting system. There must be a monitoring. There must be a compliance. There must be an enforcement. This is what NEC stands for. Monitoring, making sure that we hear it and we do it. And we also measure what quantity of power we have sold to this customer and they are using it, and there's a payback. Don't forget, when we sell power to a DISCO, that DISCO now needs to sell it. I need to collect money and through the value chain and pay back. Now, if you are not metering people, then you cannot collect money. I think it makes sense, right?
It does.
Yeah, you are not monitoring, so you cannot collect money because we're not going to allow you. So therefore, you will not balance your account.
But you have been allowing them estimated
and this
billing.
is over now. the days of estimated
So we want to
see
NEC do something different.
Now, NEC is also, like I said, I talk about identifying, coding each customer, knowing the identity of customers. We need to know that. The government has come up with another initiative we didn't discuss, is the so-called cashless billing and metering initiative and payment initiative by the same president. Last year we did that. What that does is that it's going to capture total energy sold to the value chain, to the disco, and it's going to be seamlessly so-called cashless, okay?
Let's pause you, Prof. You can talk until let's quickly take Lagos and come back to you.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's talk. Let's see, Hamid Abiodun, this issue of presidential mass metering initiative is not just about providing meters and then you providing them, for instance, and then giving them to the discos to distribute for free as the initiative entails. It's also about creating employment for Nigerians and looking at, or rather bridging the gap. As you bridge the supply gap in electricity, also bridge the gap in employment, for Nigerians. Earlier you mentioned, you said from 200 to 400 your staff, got up. And since you're talking about the local manufacturers, how do you intend to address or achieve this very issue of employment, given the fact that there are so many of Nigerians roaming the streets and who have the capacity to be part of this initiative?
Very much. Like I have stated earlier, I do not know. I don't know whether Mr. Chairman misconstrued my position. Maybe I'm a bit passionate about the sector. But I said it earlier that as I'm talking here now, we have over 300 youths in our metering school. That is the first of its kind in this country. And even the NERC, we have written to them for endorsement. We are even sponsoring a national critic workshop with the MBTE on the school. So we're doing a lot on our part. Like the effect of this NMMP, it's enormous, given the fact that, like I said, it has really, impaired positively on our production activities and all these things. And in a couple of months to come, there will be an increment in terms of the production, production output, and the Nigerians that will be engaged in various factories making these electricity meters. And in the same vein, the installation part is another potential area through which Nigerians can get employment. And that is what we have taken, we are doing on our own. And I think we deserve a lot of commendation in this regard. To single-handedly, given the situation of things in the country, yet we're still doing our own bit to really complement the initiative. It's a laudable one, it's a good one. But what we're saying, which I keep emphasizing, is the need to keep on supporting our local manufacturers so that the sector can continue to grow. There's what we call the only way to grow is for the regulators and every other stakeholders to continue to support the manufacturing sector so that it will have multiplier effect on the entire economy. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you, Ayo. Just a final word from the Prof. Are there penalties if benchmarks are not met?
Well, like I said earlier on, there will be penalties because we will actually blackmail the discourse that has failed to provide the necessary numbers of allocated number of meters. There'll be a publication. We'll put their names in the newspaper, and if not, we will call them, we'll write them, and there will be a penalty. And I'm sure they will be willing to work with us because I think they bought into this initiative, and you heard it. So my opinion, my hope is that they will drive it, and we will make sure they drive because it's money-making venture for them. And you've heard it's going to produce businesses and money and jobs for the young Nigerians. And you heard what they have said. If you take each of the disco, let's say each disco, they're going to have to get a meter assembly, meter tester, a meter installer, And of course, they have to package and all this. At the manufacturing level, or even on site, that's people, men and women, who will be working, creating jobs. And the job creation for the economy of Nigeria is going to be based on a lot of things. Manufacturing is number one. Agriculture is another one. Oil is another one. We also have the issue of ICT. ICT is embedded in this chip. So it means very simply that education to Nigerian youth is that Nigeria is now ready for industrialization because we're going to have more power out there that is going to provide services and products for us to use. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Prof, thank you. Go ahead, Nisa.
Many thanks. Really, we've that is so much from you, Prof. Chairman, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC. It's our pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. You wake me up every morning, though.
Well, thank you so much for keeping the date with us also. And many more thanks too to Hamid Abiodun, Chief of Staff of the Chairman of Momas Electricity Meters Manufacturing Company Limited. We thank you so much for being part of this program this morning. It's our pleasure. And so also is Adekunle. You've been a good contributor, and I hope Nigerians have enjoyed your insights and will really work with that. It's our pleasure to be part of us. Thank you very much. And we must also give you the biggest of thanks out there for having come along for the past 2 hours. We've been talking about the presidential mass meter initiative. It's our role. We thank you so much for that. And I'm Yusuf Nadabusu.
And I'm Claire Delabo Abdulrazak. We'll appreciate all of you, all the tweets you have sent. We're expecting more from you tomorrow. And, of course, to be part of our show, same time, same station. From all of us here, have a great day and do stay safe. Bye-bye.